Give us this day our daily bread. Last time we had class, we talked about the Lord's Prayer, and right in the middle of this Lord's Prayer, you have this petition. We're asking God, give us today our daily bread, or give us each day our daily bread. This phrase "daily bread" has been a part of the Lord's Prayer since the beginning. But nevertheless, there's a lot of mystery that surrounds this phrase that you've probably never heard of because people just kind of don't talk about it. So today we're going to have actually a pretty short class because I'm going to leave you the rest of the period to kind of ponder this question and hopefully give me an insightful response on Shobi. But the question we are going to end with is, what did they mean when they said daily bread? So the phrase daily bread, despite many differences, you remember last time we had class, Matthew and Luke have crazy different recollections of the Lord's Prayer. This is partially due to the fact that they didn't write it down for about 20 years, so of course your memory is going to get a little fuzzy. And then on top of that, you have author bias. So Matthew's angling for more of a Jewish theology type thing. He talks about God. They both talk about God. He talks about heaven. He talks about the devil. He's talking about things the Jews are familiar with. Luke is kind of like, heaven, devil. Like, these are words that a lot of my audiences don't don't believe in the devil. They don't believe in heaven. So he's kind of trying to start easy. So he's maybe edited some of those words out. We don't really know why that all those differences exist, but those are some likely reasons. Nevertheless, both Matthew and Luke have this one phrase that they both definitely remember, and I think there's a good reason why they remember it, which is daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. Unfortunately, the phrase daily bread, although it appears in every English translation of the Bible, is not actually what is said in the original Greek translation. So we need to actually dive into the Greek a little bit here to get at what were they actually talking about. I know this seems very simple, it seems very boring. It's actually very interesting when we start to look at the Greek. In Greek, the word that they use for bread, when they say bread, both Matthew and Luke, when they say the word bread, the word they use literally means bread. So there's no confusion, so that's good. There's no is this metaphorical bread? Is it spiritual bread? There's no real question there. They're talking about bread, like a loaf of bread. What's weird is the word daily. The word they use, the word that's translated, as daily, is actually the word epiousios, which, for starters, definitely does not mean daily. It's not really a mistranslation. And we see a lot of words that get mistranslated, and we've talked about translation errors a lot in this class. We know that translators make mistakes. This isn't really a mistake. This is actually a deliberate choice of the translator to not translate this word correctly. And the reason the translator made this choice is because no one knows how to translate the word epiousios correctly. So let's talk about epiousios. Epiousios isn't a word. It is absolutely made up. It appears to have been made up by Jesus. It only appears twice, as far as I know, anywhere in human history. And those two places, you guessed it, the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke. Only two places we have this word. Now, this is a problem because normally if you see a word you don't know in a text that's written in an ancient language, a good way to figure out what that word means is to collect every place you've seen it written, and you look at the context and you figure out, how do these people normally use the word in their daily speech? We can't do that here because the word epiousios isn't a word. It doesn't appear anywhere else. And by the way, I'm not just talking about the Bible or other spiritual texts. I'm talking about in the Greek language, any writing, we can, it doesn't matter who's writing it. You could look at any records from ancient Greece. This word doesn't exist anywhere. So again, unlikely that Matthew and Luke made it up together. If you remember, they were writing in different places. This is how we concluded that they were copy pasting from the book Q. It is possible, of course, that Q included the word, but again, we don't have Q, so we don't know. But it does seem like they both remember this word, which means it was likely invented by Jesus. So what Jesus is probably doing here is taking two different words in Greek and kind of smooshing them together. Yes, smoosh is a word. He's smooshing them together to kind of invent a new word. This isn't like an original concept to Jesus. Lots of people do this. Shakespeare is credited with inventing like a bunch of words. I don't even know how many. And a lot of Shakespeare's words actually come from smooshing words together. But this does kind of explain why both Matthew and Luke remember it, right? Because if Jesus invented a new word, when they ask him, how do we pray? And Jesus is like, here's how you pray. And by the way, in my prayer, I'm going to make up a word. And they're just like, good grief. 20 years down the road, they're like trying to remember the exact wording. It's like, yeah, but I remember that one thing he said because it was like nonsense, but also kind of cool. So they include it. So we don't know what epiousios means, but we do know what the word epi means. Not really a word, like a prefix. We know what the prefix epi means, like an epilogue or the epidermis. We also know what the word ousia means. So if we look at those two pieces to the word, we might be able to figure this out. So let's start with epi. The prefix epi means super or superior, above, over. This is confusing because it means before and after. Obviously, there's a lot of different meanings to the prefix epi. If you're wondering why there's so many meanings, including two that are opposites of each other, before and after, it's because epi on its own really doesn't mean anything. You're supposed to attach it to other words, and when it's attached to other words, it takes on different meanings. Now, it's not supposed to be attached to the word ousia, which is the next one, but here it is. So you have ousia or ousios, means substance, essence, or being. So this is a heavy word. This word carries a lot of theological weight. But epiousios, epiousia, is a smooshing together of the prefix epi with the word ousia. And no one's done this before, no one's done it after. But the question I'm putting to you now is, what do you think this meant? What do you think Jesus was trying to get at when he said that the bread you should be praying for in your daily prayer is epiousia bread? I have theories, but like anyone else, my theories could be wrong. So I'm actually not going to share my theories with you because I don't want to put my ideas in your head. I want you to think about this on your own and come up with what your theory is. That is the same slide again. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so conclusion. Hopefully you agree with me at this point that epiousios does not mean daily. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can translate the word epiousia, and in the Shobi, I'm going to ask you to come up with your own theory. Obviously, you're not going to be graded on the definition you come up with because we don't know. You're going to be graded on like basically how you justify your conclusion. And whatever your conclusion might be, I don't even really see how they arrive at the word daily. I think what the translator was getting at was this idea of a substance. The ousia means substance. So the bread was like substantial. So substantial bread meaning like the kind of bread that it's substantial, so you need to eat it every day. So like you need your daily dose of vitamin bread. I don't know. I don't know why he translated it as day. He or she translated it as daily. It's that you've lost me there. Nevertheless, doesn't mean daily. Whatever it means, it had to have been important to the early apostles because they chose to write it down in their gospels. It was weird when they heard it from Jesus. They remembered it, and then when they sat down to write, they said, yep, we're including that word because Jesus made it up. And clearly, they must have known what it meant. Remember, the people writing this down were speaking Greek. So when they were praying the prayer, they were using the word epiousios, so they weren't saying daily. So it's not until hundreds of years down the road that we start taking their language and ripping it to shreds as we translate it. So the early Christians were just saying the word epiousios, and to them, it had a meaning. Like, they all knew what the meaning was, but it just hasn't been recorded for us. So unfortunately, we're kind of left to our own devices. And this is where we're going to end, because at this point, I'm asking you. You are all theologians. You are biblical scholars now. You've been taking this class for a semester and a half, so you have plenty of education under your belt. What do you think epiousios means? That is the assignment for the rest of the class period. However, please do not go onto Google and Google the word epiousios and think like, I'm going to go find the answer on the internet. To be clear, if you Google the word epiousios, you will find search results. You will find many people who claim to know what the word epiousios means. But again, I'm just going to reiterate what I already said. No one knows what this word means. And I don't care if you go and grab some Joe Schmo off the internet who thinks he has a good theory. The people on the internet don't know either. I'm not interested in their words. I'm interested in what you think. So just don't think you're outsmarting me by getting on Google and Googling it. You're not outsmarting me. Come up with your own theory. I'm interested in your theories. Every year when I do this assignment, I always get some really creative responses. I enjoy reading all of the different theories that you're able to come up with, and obviously putting these two words together can create lots of different possible meanings. So yeah, that's your assignment for today. Good luck, and I will see you next class.